Okay, perfect. As far as I
Are you
understand,
recording this session?
yes, I'm also
Uh,
recording this session.
all right. Later you will send to me, right? The video.
Sure.
All right. Great.
Okay. So, in general, as far as I understand, there was a person responsible for. There was a different person I have tried to contact, a
Mm-hmm.
different person. So you're now setting up Cloudbeds directly, and I can
Yeah.
forward all the questions to you, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So, to begin with, let's start from property profile.
Mm-hmm.
Property profile is something that is going to be first sent to my booking engine. My
Mm-hmm.
booking engine is like an extra OTA from Cloudbeds that doesn't take commission that you can use to connect with Facebook or website.
Uh,
Um, so I would consider actually adding some description here about your property and uploading more images, because the more information you have here, the more customer will get from it.
mm-hmm.
Okay. The same from amenities. If you
Mm-hmm.
do have any of these options here that you
Just
do provide,
all right.
you can put a check mark next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if there are extra amenities that you do provide but you don't see them on the list, you can input them right here. Okay,
All right. Great.
perfect. Accommodation types. So this is also a mandatory part.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, channel connection will not be able. Uh, well, you cannot proceed with channel connection until you finish the base setup. So the mandatory thing that you need to do here is create your own accommodations. Each section, as you might have already noticed, has a learn to use button.
Yeah.
Best way actually for you to cover the base setup of Cloudbeds is by using the setup guide, which is on the
Setup
top
guide.
right.
Yeah.
So let's actually go from here, and you might see that there's accommodation types here. You can easily click on new accommodation type and
Mm-hmm.
start setting up the accommodation. So this is a room type that you need to create here, and you'll need to give it a name.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a public name. So if you, for example, want to sell on my bookings engine extra, I would consider giving it a name without any captions, just for the customer better view. Also, there's abbreviation that you can include here, like a shortcut, and
Oh, I see.
specification like private or shared dorm room. So if this is going to be a shared dorm room, you can specify how many dorm rooms you have. If this is
Mm-hmm.
one, then that's okay, and specify the number of beds. Also,
All right.
a possibility to create private accommodations. So you just need to specify number of units and specify maximum occupancy here.
I
And
see.
there's also, if you do have an occupancy pricing, can you please actually tell me your pricing model? Do you have like extra person pricing or like something like that? Or it's just
We just a normal one because I don't know. It depends on the room itself. Let's say like one unit, we have like 3 bedroom, right?
Mhm.
So maximum, yes, I think 7, because yeah, two is 7. Like if you have children plus children.
Okay, so here's what you'll need to do. You'll need to specify the maximum occupancy that you have.
7, yeah,
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 and the
yeah.
same adults included in rate for my bookings only. It also should be 7, just for you to
All
know.
right, yeah.
You'll need to input here, and you can also include children into rate here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And also, it's quite mandatory to fill out the accommodation description.
Description. All right.
Sure. So without description, you will not be able to save the room. So please make sure to post at least something here. If you're not going to
Yeah,
go with my bookings, then you can just
yeah.
type here something like test and leave it like it is.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And the same amenities section is also available specifically for each of the room types. So you can
Mm-hmm.
easily just click on the amenity and also add it. And images. So the more colorful your room types here, the better it is for the customer because he'll know what he is going to book. So I would
Mm-hmm.
also consider uploading the images here.
Yeah,
So once you're done with creating the first room type, you can start creating the second one by clicking on new accommodation type again.
I see.
Right.
All right, great.
And you can do that as many times as you need it.
I see.
Okay, so let's
It's easy
actually
to use, yeah. Yeah.
let's actually move on and let's go to general system settings, which we have missed before. So we'll try to use the step one today to complete the base setup, and then we'll be able to proceed with step two, which is
All right.
basically remote review and some minor changes in your account, like basically
Mm-hmm.
users and roles, etc.
Customization, yeah.
Yeah, customization, etc. And channel connection also. So
Yeah. Great.
actually, users and roles are under first section. So
Mm-hmm.
in most cases, channel distribution it is here.
Mm-hmm.
So channel connection. Once you're done with
This is Cloudbeds homeworks account, right?
yes, sir. So
Under homeworks, right? This one.
yes, so this should be homeworks.
All right. Great.
I can see that you have actually renamed it,
Yeah.
the system. So
Yeah.
I suppose it is. Okay, good. Um, General system settings. The things that actually you might want to use here are those four features that you can see in front right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I would consider to pay attention the most,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think that you might need this, and let me actually explain you why.
All
Because
right.
they are specifically for customer requests and for different hotels, properties that do have a specific reception, control, etc. In our case, there is auto change status no show for reservation not checked in.
Mm-hmm.
What does actually this mean? I'm going to give you a really simple example so you can understand the work of this feature, but you can always get back to this one, click on the question mark, and check the
Mm-hmm.
specification. So you
All
can
right.
actually read this, and while I explain you this one. So let's imagine that you have a guest checking in today in Cloudbeds
Mm-hmm.
in your property. He physically paid you for the room, he physically took the keys, and he physically gone to his room. But on reception, somebody forgot to change his status of the reservation in Cloudbeds
Mm-hmm.
to in-house. So as by default, the reservations are confirmed in Cloudbeds, but on the calendar, there is a calendar here.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually an option to change the status of the reservation to identify if this is a canceled or on hold customer or no show or, for example, confirmed. So by default, all the reservations that are not checked in yet are confirmed,
Mm-hmm.
which means that they need to be verified and need to be checked in upon arrival. So today guest arrives, he already in his room, and in Cloudbed somebody forgot to click on the reservation and click on it check in. What's going to happen? If you forgot to check in the guest, the status of the reservation will be automatically changed to no show,
I see.
which means that he will be removed from the calendar, the guest will be removed from the calendar, and availability for this room type will be open again.
Automatically, right?
Yes.
I see. All right.
So what I would consider just to avoid any confusions is to disable this feature, because sometimes the guest might be physically in the room, right? But in
Mm-hmm.
Cloudbeds, uh, hard days, for example, a lot of customers, and not always you can keep with that. So it's better actually to have it disabled to manually change the guest to no show if needed. Do you understand what I mean, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what you would consider, leave it like it is or just disable?
I think leave it like this one.
Okay, let's leave it like it is.
Yeah, like this.
Okay. Uh, Regarding auto checkout date extension.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what this feature does. Um, it's similar to no show. So again, a simple example. You are having a guest checking out today, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody on reception forgot to change the status of the reservation from
Mm-hmm.
in-house to check out.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen tomorrow with this reservation? It's
Still
going to
not close.
Yeah, it's going to be prolonged on one more day.
I
That
see.
stay will be extended for one more day.
One more day. Only one more day, eh?
Yeah, by default
Alright.
and automatically.
Alright.
Actually, this feature is not something that I would recommend you to have, but still, if
Mm-hmm.
you do have some strict rules in your property, then you can leave it
Yep.
like it is. So, do you want to have it disabled or leave it?
Leave it like this.
I'm
Just leave
sorry,
it. Just leave it auto.
disabled, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Auto-assign reservations means that all the reservations in the system that will come from different sources will be automatically assigned to their rooms.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Cool.
You can always disable or leave it like it is
Mm-hmm.
and use the full country for the guests.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's going to be a default country when all the guests are pre-filled. Well, the information for the guest is
Mm-hmm.
pre-filled.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. So property profile, this is something that we have covered. Accommodation types we have covered, and availability metrics. Well, currently you don't have any room types available. That is why availability metrics is displayed not in full. Let me
Mm-hmm.
actually log into my test account so you can see how it looks like. So this is availability metrics,
Mm-hmm.
basically like a small calendar, which will allow you to control your availability and control your rates. So on this calendar, for a short term, you can always set up a change in the price or set up a price by just
Mm-hmm.
clicking on the price itself, or the same for amount allotted for sale. So this
Mm-hmm.
is amount that you want to sell, not the amount that you have. The amount that you have will always be displayed in remaining inventory right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the amount that you want to sell, so you can always make it bigger by clicking yes next to allow overbookings, or you can make it lower than the remaining inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you don't want to oversell and you want to avoid overbooking, so just in case you have once per room and you
Mm-hmm.
have to increase the amount here. So a quick trick, so you can do this by day here, but if you want to do this a long term, there's a long term interval button. You will need to specify the accommodation to which the change
Mm-hmm.
should be applied, specify the start date and end date of the action that you're currently doing, and
Mm-hmm.
select the option. So there is amount allotted for sale. So there's again question mark that you
One
can
moment, can I see if allow overbooking?
right.
It's 11. Alright.
Okay. Base rates, min loss, max loss. Do you know what what is min max and min loss and max loss?
What's that?
So min loss means that min loss is basically a minimum stay of the customer that is allowed. What does it
Uh-huh.
mean? If you set it up as one, then customer will
Mm-hmm.
be able to make reservations starting from 1 day. If you set it up
Uh,
as two, customer will not be able to make a reservation for 1 day, but starting from two, he'll be able to do that. And max loss,
max loss,
yeah,
maximum number.
absolutely right. So that's the maximum that the customer can book. As usual,
Alright.
most of the properties do skip this part because they want to take most of the customers and
Mm-hmm.
they want to have them stay for a longer time. So if that's possible to do that like for 60, 90 days, they would allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Accommodation blocks. So you can set up a blocks. So for example, you have a maintenance in your room. So this is one of the options to close your rooms. You can easily just click on accommodation blocks, specify the date, specify the room type,
Mm-hmm.
and specify the period, and added this interval. So this would automatically put a check marks next to accommodations like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And will
So
close availability for all
yeah.
sources.
So public cannot book. the unit, right?
Yes, sir. So customer will not
Alright,
be able to book this day, so availability will
alright,
shut
okay
down.
then. Alright.
Close to arrival and close to departure. So those two features most commonly used in such cases as, for example, you don't have a reception working on a specific date. That is
Mm-hmm.
why you make close to arrival and close to departure this date. So guests will not be able to, for in case arrival, will not be able to arrive and specify his check-in date as the day of the day where you have closed the arrival,
Mm-hmm.
and the same for departure. So if the guest wants, for example, you have closed 24th of July, right? So it's closed for departure. Let's imagine that it is closed because you don't have reception working. Customer may departure at any other day except the 24th. So when he's going to make a reservation in Cloudbeds, I'm sorry, or in Cloudbeds or in OTA, he will be able to specify all his check-in dates, but he will not be able to specify the checkout date as 24. So it
Mm-hmm.
will not be available for him. And the same for check-in date. So he can, for example, check in on 22nd, but he cannot check in on 24th. He can check in on 23rd, but he cannot check on 24th. The same for departure. So customers can overstay those days, but they cannot check in or check out in our case. Post arrival to departure.
Alright.
And there's also a per person pricing. So just want to let you know, per person pricing, it's only for my booking engine. So if you want to have a per person pricing model on the channel, you need to create a derived rate plan directly there, as we do not support updating per person pricing from Cloudbeds to OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something that would be manageable on the extra.
Alright.
Perfect. Okay, so let's move ahead. Taxes and fees. So do you plan to include any taxes or fees into your reservations in Cloudbeds, sir?
Reservation, yeah, no need, no need.
I'm
No
sorry.
need. The fees, I think no need. Taxes, I'm not sure about that.
This
This
is
one can I can play around, right? After this.
Yes, sir. You can
Yeah.
always use the learn to use, check that,
Yeah.
and see if you need that
Mhm.
or not.
I'll
General,
discuss with my manager first. This one.
I'm sorry.
I'll discuss about the taxes and fees after this with my superior.
I'm sorry, sir. I do hear you poorly. Can you please repeat it again?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Okay.
hello.
Okay. Hello. I do hear you.
Yeah. I said about the taxes and fees. I will discuss with my superior after this.
Okay. Sure.
I can play around with this these crowd bets.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So just in case, this is
Mhm.
not a mandatory part that needs to be done on 100%, like taxes and fees in our case, before channel connection. But if you don't have taxes or you don't want to have them included into the reservation, that's not a problem. But if you're planning to use our reports, our production reports,
Mhm.
revenue
Mhm.
report, then in this case, I would actually consider you having taxes being included here
Mhm.
because it might have a really big effect on the reports.
All right.
Once you have created a tax, you need also to specify to which sources the tax is going to be applied to. So it's going to be reservation sources part. Here, you have different sources. Those are the primary sources that you can see right now. In order to apply the tax or fee, you'll just need to click on configure taxes and specify the tax. So once you create a tax, it will pop up here on the list and
Mhm.
you'll just need to select it. And if
All
you
right.
want to do this for all sources, you just need to configure this to all sources. And also there's a third party sources tab, basically like travel agents, OTAs, corporate clients.
Mhm.
So if you plan also to adjust taxes for OTAs, I would actually consider specifying those OTAs. So for example, booking.com. I suppose you have
Mhm.
a booking.com extranet, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So what you'll need to do, you'll need to click on Add New OTA,
Mm-hmm.
select the booking.com,
Booking.com.
right? So there will be two options provided for booking.com, for Agora and for Expedia, as far as I do remember. Those
Mm-hmm.
channels do have two options. One of them is Channel Collect, and another one is Hotel Collect. Channel Collect means that the money is being collected by the channel directly and then sent
Mm-hmm.
to you. Hotel
Mm-hmm.
Collect means that you, as a property, physically collects the money from the guest upon his arrival or on his arrival.
I see.
So you need to specify which type of connection you have set on the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also a commission percentage, which you can use in order to also reflect correct information in the commission report of Cloudbeds. So you can specify that commission too.
All right.
Doesn't have any effect on the reservation at all. It's most basically will be used for commission report to show you how much you have paid to that channel during a specific period of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So please make sure to add those OTAs
And
here.
you. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm also going to send you this copy of the video so you can even rewatch the video
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and try to
Sure.
do step by step.
All right.
Policies. So policies, again, it's only for my booking engine. So you can specify what type of policy you are planning to use. Cancellation policy, terms and conditions, arrival and departure dates. So you can also specify check-in and check-out time. And if you do offer late checkout, you can always do that too. And include an extra price. So you can actually make it as a zero if you do allow customers to stay longer for free, or you can actually even add extra price to that.
All right.
Users. So if you plan to have more people working in Cloudbeds here on your
Mm-hmm.
account, like for
Mm-hmm.
example reception or another manager, etc.,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you can always add more
Add user. All right. But same account.
under the same account, but they will have their own logins.
I see.
And there's also an option to go with roles. So currently you have only one role as administrator. Basically, administrator has almost everything the same as a property owner, but there are restrictions in credit card access. So
Mm-hmm.
administrators do not have access to credit card details, but they can always be granted by the property owner. So property owner can give permission to them doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want to have a different role, if you want to have more limited role for a person that is working in Cloudbeds, that is working on your account in your property, you can always go to manage area right here
Mm-hmm.
and see that user management here. So there are option not only users but also roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and add
Add
this
room.
role. Absolutely right. So you can give the name of the role, specify the description if needed, and what is more, there is a really big list of permissions. So what you can do, you can click on the question mark and see if
Mm-hmm.
this actually is being needed for that role. So
I see.
everything is described, so you can see all the details here. So don't worry about missing something. I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to manage that if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to setup guide. Security. So what you can do here, you can set up a credit card password
Mm-hmm.
and you can grant credit card viewing access and also set up auto logout if needed
All right.
for specific users that you have created, and reservation. So this is also a mandatory part for channel connection. Can you please tell me, do you prioritize having channels connected, or you want to, or you have most of your customers coming to you directly?
Not really. We love to channel it.
Most of that related to channel, right?
Yeah, related to channel. Correct.
Okay, so for the first time as you're using the Cloudbeds, what I would consider going through each of the section. But the parts that I would really like to point out that you need to do, it's accommodation types, availability metrics. You need to make sure to create the base rate for the customer. For the
Mm-hmm.
customers by going to base rates in availability metrics, which will look like this.
Mm-hmm.
You will need to set up base rates. Let me just select the per person price. So you can specify the intervals and set up the price for each of the room type.
Mm-hmm.
So you will need to make sure doing that. And accommodation type, availability metrics, taxes and fees and reservation sources are secondary, but still I would consider doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And import reservations. Do you have any future reservations currently?
Pardon me?
Do you have any future reservations?
Future, not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's very good because in this case, the most difficult part is done for you. Most of the
Import.
properties that are
Yeah.
moving, well, they are uh, open for a quite long time, and if they are moving, they will need to import all their future reservations manually into Cloudbeds
I
for some
see.
cases, and it's quite time consuming. In your case, it will save you a lot of time. Basically, account
Yeah.
setup in Cloudbeds may take up to 1 hour for you, and you're
Yeah.
done. You'll just need to start connecting channels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have also, if I'm not mistaken, I have sent you via email webinar trainings, so you can also share these webinar trainings with others and
Yeah.
review your own. So
All
they
right.
basically cover the same thing that I am currently reviewing.
All
Okay,
right.
so this is done for review. Also, do not forget actually there's a dashboard, calendar, and reservation section.
Vision. Mm-hmm.
And also there's another way to set up the prices, which might be even easier for you once you create
Mm-hmm.
accommodation types. It's not
Yep.
availability metrics, but base rates.
All right.
So it will look like this. So you have a room type, you click on the room type, add
Mm-hmm.
interval, give it a name, start and date, and set up the price. And after that, just click on an interval. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be even easier for you. Again, learn to use in case you
Mm-hmm.
have some questions. And also, I'm always here for you, so you can contact me via email. You can even
Yep.
reply to the same email, and I'll help you out by
All
checking
right.
or assisting you with providing the necessary information.
Great.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
So let's quickly do a review of the dashboard. Dashboard is going to be the main part that is going to be used on the daily basis by the reception because it displays arrivals and departures for today and tomorrow, the same for
Mm-hmm.
stayovers and in-house
Mm-hmm.
guests.
All
So
right.
they can control the guests that are actually arriving departure
Mm-hmm.
from the dashboard. Also, you can review all the sales that were made during today and also if there are any cancellations or overbookings.
All right.
Calendar, it's something that will look approximately like this. From the calendar, you can create a direct reservation if needed by clicking on this plus icon. So there's an option to create new reservation. There's an
Mm-hmm.
option also to set up a block,
Mm-hmm.
courtesy hold. Courtesy hold, it's like a temporary block for a customer
Mm-hmm.
and out of service. So you
Mm-hmm.
can disable that room for that specific period of the time with the reason that it's out of service. So reservation part, it's a place where all the reservations are stored and you can always
Mm-hmm.
review them and go to that reservation and start working with it. Um, Basically, that's all for your first question. Let's quickly jump in on to your next one.
Mm-hmm.
Management of that property. I suppose we have covered the second and the third
Yep.
question,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Third question is basically how to connect channels. We will cover
Yep.
this on the step 2 once you complete the first one, okay?
All right.
Good. Occupancy report and sales report. Can you please clarify those questions for me?
Pardon me?
Can you please clarify the questions regarding
Okay.
occupancy?
Yeah. Occupancy report is basically the end of the month, right? We would like to see whether our property is doing in that specific month.
Mhm.
The end of the month, we need to see this unit.
By the
Uh,
occupancy.
yeah, how many guests have stayed, and then
Mhm.
how many that units can make in terms of sales.
Good question.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. We do have an occupancy report.
Mm-hmm.
By going to reports, production reports, you can see.
Room. Oh, great. Yeah, a lot of report.
So there is a small graph, yeah,
Yeah.
and though
But
there are some.
this report we can compare to units. For example, we have like 5 units, so we want to compare 5 unit compare with other unit to
Yes,
see which unit perform well.
absolutely right. So on the
Yeah.
bottom,
Uh-huh.
there are the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You can check that, and if you, for example, want to compare, you can easily just select Telux Private in my case. So I have selected. You can
Mm-hmm.
also compare that by using a specific sources, right? So for example, you want to compare how many people are coming from booking.com and what is the occupancy for them.
Yep.
And you
Correct.
can specify the period, and you can
Mm-hmm.
specify and compare it with, for example, a different year. So you can
Mm-hmm.
compare the same room type with the same room type by
Mm-hmm.
staying on the same page, by reviewing the graph. So graph will actually show you two lines. If you, for example, compare that, let's actually go with 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and let's click on apply. And you can see the red one is basically, well, the last year was not active for me because this is a test property. But the problem here is that you can only compare this with the year, with the periods of the year,
Mm-hmm.
but not between the room types. If you want to compare that with the room types, you will need to, for example, select, let's actually select that one. Uh, If you want, for example, to compare the room types and
Mm-hmm.
specific period of the month, you'll just need to, for example, in room types, select the room type that you would like to check, specify the source. By default, all sources are selected, and click apply.
Mm-hmm.
So you're interested, for example, in months of August, or for example, I do have some test reservations in
June.
June. So you can see that I had an occupancy 1.67 and I have earned 70 virtual dollars. What you can do, you can, like for example, deselect now and go with another room type and check June then. There. So you can see that actually there's a zero occupancy here. So this is how you can do the comparison. Also, you can export the files into PDF and Excel
I see. Excel as well. Oh, great.
and actually work from Excel by comparing that information from there. So you can, for example, merge the files and have that on one page.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, regarding sales report, so is there something specific that you want to know about sales report?
Sales report, I think under the report stated, right? Sales report, right?
Financial. We do have a lot of
Financial,
financial reports
financial,
also.
yeah, financial report. Payout commission report transaction daily financial adjustment.
So actually, the most commonly used report, just
Mhm.
from my experience,
Payout and
is
commission, right?
transactions.
Transaction, I see.
Yes. Transaction report, it's actually the more extended version of each report that we have because it has
Mm-hmm.
a lot of filters that you may want to specify.
I see.
So you can actually create your own reports here. So for example, you want to know how many items or room revenue you got separately. Or for example, you do want to know how much taxes you have paid, so you can collect this information. You can also specify what type of credit payments you have made. So if this was a credit card, you want to know only Visa, you can select Visa. And
Mm-hmm.
you can always group this by users. So for example, if you have a team working with customers directly and they are creating
Mm-hmm.
reservations in Cloudbeds, you want to know, for example, how much each of them sold, you can specify that by users,
Oh, great. Perfect.
by date, by room, by guest
But,
name, also by number of reservation.
all right.
also specify some adjustments. So it depends actually on the transaction type.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is like a simple transaction, if you, for example, made a charge from the guest and you want to know how much you have charged by doing a simple transaction, that's okay. If you, for example, made an extra charge from the guest for example, extra service or a change in the room price, you can always select adjustments. Adjustments with voids, basically it's the same, but it will also display all the transactions that you have removed from the guest. So for example, you want to take control under this property and you want to see if anybody made any voids, basically remove any transactions
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
the reservation. So
Yeah.
you can always check that.
All right.
The same for statuses. So statuses basically of the reservation that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
you can do the same. But there's also a payout commission report, which will display the commission that you have paid to the channel. There is also a daily financial report.
Mm-hmm.
So it has some graphs if you'll compare with the transaction report, and it has some more comfortably located information for you. I can also show you more information about your occupancy, your information about check-ins, check-outs, your average daily rate. So this is
Mm-hmm.
something that you can monitor and control from here.
All right.
The same adjustments, so you can always check adjustment, payment
Mm-hmm.
ledger, tax report. We also have an invoices report also.
Invoices. All right. That is the important thing. Invoices.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you a copy of this video. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
as of now, I think we have covered some of the questions that
Yep.
we have.
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Maybe you have any other questions that I can help you answer.
Once I ready with the units, register under the Cloudbeds account, all right? So to channel it to different channel, right? For example,
Hmm.
Booking.com, Expedia, Agoda, that one.
Yeah.
To make it the unit live to the public, so public can book it.
Yes, in order to make it public, first of all, we need to confirm step one, which is right here.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And what you need to do, as previously mentioned, you
Settle
need,
all the mandatory information, right?
yes, well, everything is mandatory here, but
Mm-hmm.
for channel connection, what is the most mandatory? It's accommodation types,
Accommodation type, yep.
base rates, it's over
That's
here.
right.
You
Mm-hmm.
can create them here,
Mm-hmm.
and future reservations. So once you create at least accommodation types and base
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also what I would consider is checking taxes and fees and reservation sources if you do plan to use our reports, because they will not display the exact information if taxes and fees are being displayed incorrectly,
Yeah.
and only then we can actually start connecting channels. So this is a strict rule that we have, because basically if we don't have any accommodations in Cloudbeds, if we don't have any prices, we will not be able to send anything to channel, and basically channel will not be
Oh,
available for
yeah.
sale.
Yep. All right.
But
Understood.
do you mean many channels like? Do you mean you don't have Booking.com Expedia yet?
I have booking. We have booking.com account. We have Airbnb account. We have home away account.
Okay.
Another one is wait, I check. Yeah. I think we have like several Airbnb,
Okay.
booking.com, home away. Um, yeah, and Cloudbeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Cloudbus is not a channel, but
Oh yeah,
good
this is
enough.
back end system.
What about Expedia and Agoda?
Expedia, I think we will create one
Okay,
for
good.
Expedia. Yeah, more channel, more more income, more.
Well, it
Yeah.
actually depends, sir. Sometimes I do know, and from my experience, we do have some
Mm-hmm.
properties that have like two or three channels connected, but
Yep.
their client base it's really huge on those channels.
I see.
They even don't need to have other channels just to be in a good profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it all actually depends. But friendly speaking, yes, I totally agree with you. So the more channels, the more sources to promote your property.
Yep. correct.
Okay, so if there are no questions for now, we can end
Mhm.
this meeting. And when you
Yes.
have any questions, you can always email me. And I'm also going
Yeah.
to send you a copy of this video.
Perfect.
Email once I will upload it. Okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. It's nice meeting you.
You're welcome, Ahmed. Have a good day and goodbye.
You too. Have a
Thank you. Bye.